Alright, hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Casey, and today I'm really excited about this video because we're going to be talking about what you need to hear to feel inspired. So this video is for those of you who maybe you've been having a really hard time starting a passion project or a jump to a new career or a jump towards something that you really want because you can't get the motivation, you can't quite get that spark of inspiration that you need to take those first steps. For others of you, maybe you've been working really hard at something for a very long time, but you just haven't reached the kind of goal that you've been wanting to reach, and you're starting to feel burnt out, you're starting to feel like you're losing steam. What do you need to hear right now to keep you on track, to get that inspiration back, to get that motivation that you need to succeed and keep going? Because I think that you deserve to be able to reach the things that you want. The goals that you want, you're not given desires just to have them dangled in front of you. I don't believe in that. I believe that we are given things to chase after because we are meant to fulfill them. And if there's something that you're meant to fulfill and you're just needing a little boost of inspiration right now, I want to be able to give you that so that you can keep going and you can attain this thing that you want so badly. So, today I have 3 different readings for you to choose from. With pile 1, we have the rose quartz crystal. With pile 2, we have the crazy lace agate. And with pile 3, we have I believe this is called malachite. I might be thinking of a different thing. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But anyways, go ahead and pause, figure out which pile you feel most drawn to, and I'll leave timestamps down in the description box below so you can quickly jump to whichever reading that you want to listen to. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, pile 1. If you chose the rose quartz, then this is going to be the reading for you. And your reading tells me, first of all, I think the thing that you're not feeling inspired about, it could be a passion project, it could be a certain side hobby, or it could be a career. But the thing that I feel like ties this all together is it is some sort of creative outlet. So even if it is your career, I think it is some sort of something that you've started that was like a passionate side hobby that you wanted to turn into something more, but maybe it didn't end up gaining the kind of traction that you wanted, or something got in the way and made you feel stuck. I think that there was some sort of setback along the way. Like, it'll be a moment that you remember because I think it was something very major that happened. Maybe it was, I don't know, a hero or an idol that you had that said, you're never gonna make it. Or maybe it was some random person that said the same thing to you. Maybe it was, like if you're an artist, maybe you had all your art supplies, all the finished paintings in your car, and then your car like blew up and you lost all of that hard work. Or maybe you're a writer, and the same sort of thing happened. Like, you had everything on your computer and then it broke and you lost that entire story that you spent so long working on. I feel like something happened that really stopped you in your tracks and made you feel like it was the universe's way of disrupting you, of stopping you, of saying you're not meant to keep going, or this path just isn't for you. And the truth is, I don't know the deeper reason why that happened, but it doesn't mean that you have to stop. Something that I said at the beginning of this reading that I truly believe in is, I don't believe that we are given desires just to have them be dangled in front of us. I think we are given them because the universe wants us to fulfill them. We are the perfect person to bring this thing to manifestation, bring it to fruition. And I think that you've been given this desire to create this thing that you love so much, this thing that you're passionate about, because you're meant to create it. Not because you're meant to like have this desire dangled in front of you cruelly and then you can never do it, you can never pursue it. I don't believe in that. I think that you are meant to keep going, but this moment happened and it was so heartbreaking that you just never picked up the pen again. You never picked up the paintbrush. You never got back to work on writing that story or filming those videos or whatever it is that you wanted to do. There's something that just stopped you in your tracks and you haven't really looked back since. And I think ever since you've been in this kind of state of limbo where you haven't really worked towards anything, you haven't gotten back on that creative grind, but at the same time you still feel this energy within you that wants to be released, that wants to be manifested into the world. And I think that that's your creative energy. You have to have an outlet for it because it's something that originates within you. It wants to be created. It wants to be put out into the world. It wants to be put into a creation of some kind. And Just because this thing happened, this disruption of some kind, this travesty, doesn't mean that you're meant to stop and give up completely. And something that you need to hear right now that might help you get inspiration back, get out of this rut is, first of all, like I just said, you are meant to still do this thing. Whatever happened, I don't think that that was a sign that it's not meant to be or you should just give up. I think, I don't know, maybe those were the wrong kind of projects to go out into the world, or maybe there was some reason you needed to be stopped. I don't know. But what I do know is you're not meant to give up on your passion. You still have this passion within you, and you are not meant to turn your back on it. You're not meant to snuff out that flame because it doesn't need to be snuffed out. It's something that lives within you. It's something that gives you purpose, that makes you happy, that makes you feel passionate. And things like that, no matter who tells us to stop, we're not meant to turn our back on it. We stop when we decide we want to stop, when we decide that it no longer fulfills us. Not when somebody tells you to give up, or not when your car blows up, which hopefully that didn't happen to you. But this thing, you're not meant to give up on it, because it's a part of what makes you you. It's something that you love more than anything that you want to pursue. You know how badly you love this thing. And I feel like you were so heartbroken that you felt like it wasn't meant to be, or that it was stopped for a reason. And the truth is, I don't think that it was stopped for a reason. Maybe that specific instance you needed to stop, but I don't think that you're meant to give up on your creativity or give up on your passions, not at all. That is the first thing that I need you to hear. Whether you believe it or not, something you need to realize is you have free will. Even if the universe stops you at every turn for some reason or another, you can still keep going. You have your own autonomy. If you want to paint or you want to write just for fun, you can still do it. Nobody can tell you no. I mean, sure, they can say the words no, but nobody can stop you. Unless what you're doing is illegal. There's no reason for anybody to stop you. Only you can stop yourself by giving up on what you want. The next thing that I feel like you need to hear about what'll give you inspiration and motivation to continue this thing or to get back on the horse, like if this was a career path that you were trying to start down and something stopped you and you felt like, well, damn, I guess this just isn't meant for me. I guess I'm not meant to pursue this. I guess I'm meant to do something that I'm not fulfilled in for the rest of my life. I don't think that's true. But I think something that you can do if you want to get back at this, you want to keep doing it, you want to keep pursuing it, is first of all, start by cleansing your mind of any expectations of what the outcome is supposed to look like. Start cleansing yourself of all the details of how exactly you're going to make this thing reach other people, like if it's a video or if it's paintings. Stop thinking about how you're going to push it out there. Stop thinking about all those extra details. Put that up to the universe. Let go of it and say, if this is meant to succeed, the universe will aid me. The universe will make people come across this work. The universe will make people find what I'm putting out there. But the only thing you need to focus on is the work itself. And what I mean by cleanse yourself of the idea of certain outcomes, if you have a certain number of people you'd like to reach with your work, or if you have a certain date you'd like to be finished by, or, a certain deadline for some reason, cleanse yourself of all those expectations, because you never know how something is going to turn out. And if you have this grand idea of it's going to be finished by this deadline, it's going to look like this, it's going to happen exactly this way, and then something fails along the way, it's just going to make you feel like, well, it wasn't meant to be. When the reality is, you don't know the future. You can't tell the future. Even me, a tarot reader, I can only give you a glimpse of the most likely outcome. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen because you have free will, I have free will. We never know exactly how things are going to turn out. And that's the beauty of it, especially in a creative sense. You don't want to know exactly how something's going to end. The whole idea behind creativity is it's this new thing that's never been put into the world, and it's going to be this completely unique experience. And when you try to put all these parameters around it, you try to put all these deadlines and say, it has to happen exactly like this at this time, you're restricting something that, creativity inherently is not meant to be restricted. The only thing that you're meant to be right now is a channel, a vessel for this creativity to be brought forth and manifested. When you look at this Eight of Pentacles guy, the only thing that he's focused on is building these pentacles, making them. He's working very hard, and he's not worrying about other things like when the pentacle needs to be done by, or are people gonna like the pentacle? No, he's just making it because that's his job. That's what he loves doing. You need to bring yourself back to the simplicity of why you enjoy doing this in the first place. Not thinking about all the deadlines or, if you're a writer, for instance, not thinking like, what are the editors and the publishers going to think about this? Writing it for them. Sometimes artists, especially writers, get too caught up in writing for what they think the audience is going to want instead of what they love. If you are the only one that you have to please, it's going to come out so much cleaner, so much purer. And that is what people are going to see through to. They're going to see the love and passion that was put into it. Not all the worry and panic and I need to pander to this audience. That's the kind of stuff that makes creativity inauthentic. You need to get back down to brass tacks and just remember why you love doing this thing in the first place. Just start purely creating because you enjoy creating, and focus on learning how to cleanse your mind of what certain expectations you have, what deadlines you're trying to reach, how many numbers you're trying to reach. Truly cleanse yourself of all those expectations of what the outcome is going to look like, and just focus on the work itself. Focus on your creative passion and just doing what you love doing, because that is what's going to reach so many more people, as opposed to trying to be like, how can I fit this specific audience, their age group? How can I best pander to them? That kind of stuff is going to restrict you. It's going to make it feel tacky. It's going to probably end up missing the mark. Instead, when you could have just been focusing on doing what you love. Not focusing on what kind of audience it's going to reach, but just doing it because you love it. And finally, with creativity and the Page of Cups reversed, I feel like this started off as something that you loved doing. It was something that's this creative passion that you just wanted to do for fun. And then it ended up getting so narrowed down into it has to look this way. It has to be applicable to all these different audiences. It has to be family friendly. It has to be et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It has to look like this. It has to fit in this kind of aesthetic. You really lost your way. I feel like you narrowed down so much that you really sapped the creativity out of all of it. You've sapped the passion out of it. And to become inspired again, to get yourself back on track, I don't think the first thing that you need to do is sit yourself down in front of your desk and say, okay, it's go time, let's do this. Don't start working again with the focus of, I'm putting it out there as work. Start doing it again from the focus of, this is my hobby. I'm doing this because I enjoy doing it, not because of the, external goal of, I'm going to reach this thing that I really want. Just remember what it was like to do this because you loved it in the first place. Like, going from the writer analogy, instead of writing with this focus in mind, like, I'm going to complete a full novel, it's going to be between this many words, and it's going to be something that a publisher is going to want to pick up. Instead of focusing on all of those things while you work, just focus on, what have I been daydreaming about? What kind of story do I want to write? What entertains me? What makes me happy? What do I want to do right now? And just do it. Just see where it leads you. Let that, in and of itself, the process of doing, evoke that spark within you again. Let that bring out the inspiration and motivation. I think there is definitely a time and place to be thinking about, who is this work going to apply to, what the kind of audience is, what, analytics are you trying to reach for. There's a time and a place for that. But the time and place for that is not when your barrel of creativity is bone dry. What you need to work on right now is connecting back to why you love it in the first place. Why it inspired you in the first place. Why you wanted to do this. Why you wanted to turn this into your livelihood. Get back to that. Get in tune with the creative passion. And then eventually you can start working in, okay, I want to finish this by this certain deadline. But something that you need to realize is those kinds of expectations come secondary to creativity. You can't box in creativity because then it turns into something that's not creativity anymore. Creativity is something that is free and flows and is wild and is here for a moment and gone the next. And you can only harness it when you're in those moments of passion. But as soon as you start to box it in, you start to have all these ideas of what it's supposed to look like. That's when your ego's taking over. That's when your monkey brain is taking over and trying to control everything. And that's just not how it's supposed to be. So, I have one final card for you. And this is advice directly from your spirit guides that you need to hear about what you're going through right now. And this is the Perception card number 21. And it has an ostrich on it. I don't know if ostriches are special to you in some way, but it could be a spirit animal. So, number 21, the ostrich. Ostrich speaks to us about perception. The image of burying one's head in the ground conjures a feeling of the inability to face a wider perspective. To be fair, the ostrich burrows its head in the ground not to hide, but to rotate her eggs. When this card comes to you in a reading, however, it's the symbolism of burying one's head in the ground that we are meditating upon. Studies have been conducted to show that a hill will spatially be perceived as steeper when a person is feeling sad. Our emotion literally shapes our perception. We do not see life objectively. Instead, the way we see our physical reality is influenced by our internal emotional experience. When a situation reminds your subconscious of an uncomfortable memory, your subconscious will start to shape what you see through the lens of that past experience. Ostrich asks you to look at your current situation and recognize what perceptions you may be projecting onto it. One way to begin to shift your perception is to own that your understanding is never fully accurate. Instead of drowning in uncomfortable feelings, step back and understand that your emotions do not dictate ultimate truth. Realize that control you have over your thoughts about a situation. Realize the control you have over your thoughts. This control is strengthened the more you become cognitively aware of your perception by questioning it. Start to notice the autopilot chatter in your mind. Listen to how it belittles you and other people around you. As the Buddhist meditation teacher and psychologist Tara Brach teaches, the primitive brain continuously hijacks our ability to be present in the moment. The thoughts are real, but rarely do they hold any validity. Tell yourself, don't believe the thoughts, over and over again. This not only snaps you out of the autopilot zombie mind, but also starts to reprogram your brain to put you in charge of your perception. Ostrich's medicine asks you to consistently practice this awareness, and you will transition from being a victim of your thoughts to becoming a master of your perception. So, pile 1, usually I would leave you guys right there after reading through that passage, but I want to talk a little bit about how I personally deal with these kind of intrusive thoughts, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people deal with and not a lot really know how to get through, and my method might not personally work for you. It might be something that only personally works for me, but I'm going to give it to you anyway in case it does help. So something that I personally realized when I have these thoughts that I feel like belittle me or hold me back or say, you're never going to succeed, or this could go wrong, or what's the point of even doing it? I remind myself that this voice isn't here for no reason. It is here because it is trying to protect me from being hurt, from failing, from not being loved. It's trying to hold me back because it thinks that that's the best way to protect me. And instead of yelling at yourself and yelling at your own brain for thinking that way, or just trying to slam your hands over your ears and drown out the noise, it's time to face it head on and basically tell yourself, I understand why you're here. I understand that you're trying to protect me, but I don't need you to do that anymore. I am perfectly capable of helping myself. I'm perfectly capable of taking on the consequences of what might happen if I do fail. Just saying that to yourself every time that those self-doubting thoughts start to come up, because that self-doubt is really just trying to hold us back. It's our brain's mechanism of making sure that we don't reach that point of failure. But if you are ready to take on the prospect of, if you keep going forward, there is a possibility that you might fail. If you're willing to take on that fear, you need to tell yourself, and you need to keep reinforcing this belief until that voice finally goes away. Because it's going to keep sticking around, it's going to keep going because it's trying to protect you. Subconsciously, it's your brain's way of trying to protect you, especially in lots of different ways. In love and relationships, I'm sure you have a similar voice going on, like, don't make that move, it'll be embarrassing. Maybe it'll be embarrassing, but what if it works out? What if that's how you meet the love of your life? You need to stop letting fear hold you back, and the first step to doing that is not yelling at your brain or yelling at your fears. It's facing it head on with love and compassion and being thankful that it was there to help you, but telling it that you don't need it to do so anymore. So, pile 1, that is everything that I have for you. I really hope that this reading found you when you needed it the most. I hope that it helped you and brought you some clarity on your situation, and I truly wish you the best of luck in everything that you do, but that's everything that I have for you. So, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Alright, pile 2. If you chose the Crazy Lace Agate, then this is going to be the reading for you. Now, I want to start by saying that I feel like this reading is going to be for those of you who have been having trouble starting something. Or maybe you started something but you stopped for a very long time and you just haven't gotten back on the horse, gotten back on the proverbial wagon, etc. But if that doesn't sound like you, if you've been chugging along, really putting in the hours, putting in the work, but you're starting to lose steam, it might be that a different pile is meant for you. I get a sense that those of you that are going to resonate with this pile are more those of you who have been having trouble starting or restarting whatever it is that you want to do. So, getting into it a bit, I want to start off by what is causing you to be in this current rut that you're in. And I think that there's a lot of things that have maybe put you in this rut, but a biggest thing is you have a very specific idea of who you need to be, what kind of environment you need to be in, what you need to be doing in order to start this thing or in order to be successful at it. So I want to give you an example of somebody like, let's go with a writer, for instance, because I get the idea that whatever you're doing is inherently a creative prospect. Let's go with the idea of a writer. So I was reading this book called Daily Rituals, and it's all about the daily schedules or the lifestyles of all these famous poets, directors, writers, etc. And they all lived very different lives. But I feel like when you think of who a writer is, you're thinking of somebody who is in seclusion, who shuts the door, locks everything out, and very diligently works on their craft, doesn't let any distractions in, needs to be in that specific creative headspace. And in order to get into that, they need to do things a very specific way. They need to be cut off from other people. Their environment needs to look exactly a certain way. And the truth is, after reading that book, seeing these like hundreds of different artists, they all have very different ways of getting into their creative flow. And I think for you, you've boxed yourself into thinking that you need to be living a certain way to get into that flow, to get started on whatever this project is. And I think a big thing is isolating. I think that you've thought that you need to isolate yourself from other people. You can't have any other distractions. When in reality, sometimes you can get a lot of inspiration by being happy, by being surrounded by loved ones, by having fun, by feeling invigorated, by being really high vibe because you were just around people that you love. But I feel like a big thing is, first of all, you have a very specific idea of the kind of life that you need to be leading in order to start this thing. You need to have all the fancy gear. Like let's say that you're trying to make videos. You're like, I need to have this kind of camera. It has to be this setup. It needs to look perfect. Something I want to direct you to, which I'm not saying that you want to be a YouTuber, but if you look at my very first video, and I'm not saying like I'm big at all, but if you look at my very first video, it was very horribly set up. Or if you look at the very first video of any of the big YouTube tarot readers or any big YouTubers in general, you'll see that their production quality was very low. They were filming on a microwave, like they probably had a very bad setup, but it was all about starting. It was all about just putting pen to paper, just turning on that camera and starting. And I feel like for you, you've really overthought how good you need to be when you first start. That in order for this to succeed and for you to be the best of the best, you have to have all the perfect stuff. You gotta have all the perfect paintbrushes and paints, the high quality gear. When in reality, the thing that is going to help you so much in the beginning is quantity over quality, which sounds really weird because in the creative space, everybody's all about quality over quantity. But if you want to start in like a business or you want to put your work out there, it's all about actually churning out work, having that backlog of art or the backlog of videos so that you can actually build up and get your work out there instead of just having this one perfect thing that you put out there and maybe everybody sees it, but after everybody's seen it, what else of you is there for them to like check out? There's no backlog of stuff. It's going to be a one-hit wonder with nothing else for people to check out. And on top of that, it's like, putting in all this effort, you're not putting effort into what actually matters. And that's the work itself, the creative projects themselves. And a big thing that you need to hear is you need to stop overthinking the beginning of things. You can overthink later on when you want to start improving, when you want to slowly build up your quality, but in the very beginning, it's all about just putting your work out there. It's about actually making the work. Or like with the writing example, so many writers start novels and never finish them, but it's the actual finishing of those novels, the having a backlog of multiple novels that you've created that ends up leading you to like that 13th novel that ends up being the one that shoots off and, goes viral, and then that's when your other works start to be looked at. But if you're just putting in all this effort to this one thing, who knows if anybody's ever going to see it? It's better to have multiple things that you put out there and to even just like start doing it and seeing something all the way through. But I think a big thing that you need to hear about why you're stuck in this rut in the first place, why you can't get that motivation or that inspiration, why you're having a hard time starting, is because you're putting so much pressure on what your first novel or your first painting or your first video is gonna look like. You're putting in so much work into it needs to be the perfect script, it needs to be the perfect background, it needs to be this and this and this. You just need to start. And also your creative flow or whatever. You don't need to completely abandon, your social life or abandon what you enjoy doing on the side in order to make this succeed. You can have that, that work-life balance. Especially in the beginning, that's absolutely necessary because maybe you don't have a lot of prospects right now. Maybe it hasn't gotten to a stage where it's reached anybody. So if anything, you should be allowing yourself to indulge, allowing yourself to have fun in the beginning before you actually start getting such a backlog of work that you need to work through all of it and you have no time for yourself. So right now, something I'm going to tell you that's really important is, first of all, detach your idea of what your environment needs to look like, what your creative project needs to look like, what scale it needs to be at. Detach all of that and just focus on getting your message out there, getting your work out there, or just doing the creative project, putting pen to paper. Focus on the actual doing rather than what it's going to look like in the end. It's like if you were trying to make a book and you're focusing so much on this elaborate cover and what it's all gonna look like and, the perfect aesthetics, but you haven't actually made the book, so, all that important work hasn't been done yet. So just start with doing. Start with the little things along the way and don't look at, this mountain of like, something people have trouble with, especially in the creative sphere, is looking at the mountain instead of putting one foot in front of the other. Looking at the word count that you need to get to, or looking at the number of novels you need to create, or looking at the number of paintings or the number of videos you need to get to in order to reach the goal you're trying to get to. Start with putting one step in front of the other. Look at the ground in front of you instead of the mountain. Because if you look at the mountain, you're going to get freaked out, you're going to back out, and you're going to turn around and run away. Start with what you can control right now, what you can be doing right now, because that is going to get you so much further over time than staring at this gargantuan mountain and freaking out about all the things that you have to do. Just start picking at it one by one. And like I said, in the beginning, quantity is going to be so much more important than quality, which I know sounds backwards, but trust me on this. Just start by putting out your work, getting your work out there, and actually getting a few novels or paintings or videos under your belt, getting that stuff actually done so you can say, I've actually done something. It's not perfect. Maybe it looks really bad. Maybe it was filmed on a toilet. Or what I mean to say is filmed very poorly on like a bad camera, etc. Maybe it was filmed poorly, but at least you did it. At least it's out there. At least you're doing something. That is what's going to build up that motivation and inspiration to keep going, because you're going to basically prove to yourself like, yeah, I am doing it. Yeah, I have done it. I can keep going. And there's only room to improve from here. But if you focus down at the very beginning at it needs to be perfect, it's just unobtainable. And you're wasting all that precious time that could have been devoted to actually putting things out there. So getting into what you need to hear to actually get you that inspiration and motivation. Like I said, you need to break it down to the basics. I think for a long time you've been very paralyzed about, okay, what direction do I go in? Do I go with this art style or this art style? Do I go with this username or that username? Or do I choose this color for the background of my Instagram page, or that's not even how it works, but you've been focusing on all these different directions that you could go in rather than just picking one and starting. So I want to urge you, just when you get that moment of that creative inspiration, just start. Just start putting things out there, even if you're not publishing anything, even if you're not sending it to anyone or posting it online. Just start by creating. For instance, if you're trying to do a YouTube thing, just pull out your phone. You can film on your phone. It doesn't have to be a fancy camera. Film that video that you want to film. And whether you post it or not, just look at it and say, there it is, I did it. And I would highly encourage you to post it. If it is something that you're doing online, if you're trying to start a TikTok or an Instagram, just start by posting. It's not going to be perfect. Maybe in 10 years you'll look back and think, man, that's cringe, but everybody does about their first stuff. Just start by putting something out there. Go in. It doesn't matter what direction you're going in. Just put one foot in front of the other, because taking steps forward is infinitely better than being stuck in place wondering if you're going to go the right way. I think that's also going to open up a lot of doors for you inspiration-wise, because it's like you've been trying to find inspiration from this static point. And the thing about creativity and inspiration and motivation is it flows. It comes and it goes, and especially creativity is something that is meant to flow. It's not something that you sit and wait for. It's something that you can get while you're in the process of doing. It might be that for instance, you start off writing one novel because you're like, okay, I'm just going to start writing and maybe eventually I'll get the motivation. And then while you're in the middle of chapter 1 of that novel, you decide, oh my God, I just got this idea for a perfect story. And you change over to a completely different novel, and then you write that entire thing. Maybe it'll be in the middle of a project that you get the idea for something that really truly inspires you. But you're not gonna know just sitting here daydreaming about it or watching videos on how to do these things. You can only watch so many videos about how to do something before actually putting pen to paper becomes the teacher that is much more important. You get so much more knowledge from actually doing, learning from failures than, just sitting paralyzed trying to figure out how to do it. So what I'll tell you is the biggest thing that'll give you inspiration and motivation is not waiting around for that inspiration, not waiting to hear the perfect thing from me to get inspiration, but by actually doing. And it's not going to come to you right away. You might be sitting at your desk with your pen and your paper, and you're like, man, I'm not feeling the inspiration yet. But just start writing. Write out outlines, maybe world build, maybe finish a chapter, maybe finish 2 or 3. Eventually that inspiration will hit you. But it's when you're in the process of the creating that the creative flow will start coming to you. Not when you're sitting stagnant still, daydreaming or worrying or thinking about all the different directions you could go in. Just pick one and go. Just start doing it. Just start doing it. And I promise you, that is when inspiration will finally hit you. And you also have here ideation and the Wheel of Fortune. I think something that you need to do that will inspire you greatly is, and this could go both ways, because this might also be something that is kind of, turns you off when it comes to this whole creative thing. So if it doesn't resonate with you, don't take it. But I encourage you to look to others in the field that you're trying to pursue who have succeeded. Look at what they have, look at what they've accomplished. Dream about the kind of lifestyle that you'd have once you get to their level, and let that be your inspiration. Think about what your life could be like when you get to that point, and let that be your inspiration to want to start moving towards it. Because the sooner you start, the faster you get to that destination. It doesn't matter if you wait a few weeks or a few months to get the perfect setup, and then you start and you think that's what's going to give me this boost to start gaining traction a lot faster than I would have if I didn't wait. Whereas I feel like if you were to just start, even if it's bad quality, it's not the greatest, you're going to get there a lot faster than the version of you that waited until the perfect moment. Because there's never going to be a perfect moment. But I think something that'll really give you a lot of inspiration and motivation is looking at what your future looks like if you stick with this thing, if you make it happen, if you keep putting out the work and you get to succeed at it. Dream about what your life could be like if you did succeed, when you do succeed. Because something that I've heard before is if you don't quit, you win. But you have to actually be putting in work. As long as you continue to put in that work, you continue to put things out there, you continue to do it, you are going to succeed. You are going to get to that goal that you want to get to. But you're not going to get there sitting on your butt, daydreaming, thinking about all the things that you need to get done before you can start. You just need to start. You just need to start, and it's that simple. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be the best thing in the world. Put stuff out there. Finish a novel. Don't start and then, stop and give up on one and then move on to another and then have all these different unfinished ones. Finish one. Even if you hate it, even if you're like, God, this is a terrible story, at least you finished it. You have a novel under your belt. I think I heard a statistic about writers, because I went down this rabbit hole and started learning about writers and what they go through. 90% of aspiring writers never finish a novel. They just get to a certain point where they give up on it and they move on to another one. And I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of people have trouble seeing things through. But if you can see something through to completion, if you can post that artwork, put that stuff out there, you will be so much further ahead of everybody else trying to succeed at what you're doing. So it automatically gives you a leg up. And what I said about looking at other people for inspiration might turn you off to it is looking at them and thinking oh, well, they've already succeeded. How am I supposed to succeed? Or they've already done it, or, it's no longer the right time. I want you to think about it this way. Unless you are copying somebody word for word, your uniqueness, nobody else has that. Even if you're just another reaction YouTuber, you immediately have something nobody else has because you are yourself. Your content is unique and will draw people into it just from the fact that it's something that you personally created on your own. When you think about, for instance, all the different YouTubers or all the different celebrities, or let's go with actors, for instance. If you look at this one actor and you're like, oh, they're so great, the world doesn't need any more actors because this person's already succeeded, then why is it that people have multiple favorite actors, or there's all these different actors or all these different writers that are successful? If there's one good author out there, what's the need of all these other authors? That's not true, because they all have something unique to give to the world. They all have something unique to say, and you have something unique to say as well. You deserve a place in whatever it is that you're doing. You deserve to put your work out there and have it be loved. Now, I have the one final card for you, and this is Action Leads to Success. And this is advice directly from your spirit guides, what you need to hear about your current situation that you're in. And this is actually card number 1, which I think is very fitting for where we're at currently in your reading, because your reading is all about starting. And the card itself, it literally says action leads to success. It's all about just putting action out there. 1 is the start of your journey. You're not going to get to the end of that journey. You're not going to see if you're going to succeed or fail or not if you don't even start. And if you never start, you might as well have gotten to the end and failed. But, that's just an aside. So let's go ahead and read this advice to you. Number 1, action leads to success. The 6 dragons. The 6 dragons reference the I Ching's first hexagram, the creative. In Chinese tradition, dragon creates great fortune for those who encounter him. Dragon is of service to those in need. His acts are benevolent, and not self-serving. Dragon assists humans on their journey towards ascension. The presence of 6 dragons, one of the most promising cards in the deck, foretells a successful outcome if you take the inspiration running through you and turn it into action. Just like I was saying. The collective power of the 6 dragons holds the medicine of the first 6 cards in the deck. Meditate upon these cards as they are a roadmap for the journey towards success. All humans hold dragon power. It is the energy within that we direct outwardly to create what we desire. It can be considered a masculine energy, one of the initiator, the doer, the spirit of action. Commit to overcoming any roadblocks, and even if fear rains down on you, do it anyway. The medicine of this card is assigned to finally submit to what you want to manifest and then initiate. Know, however, that self-centered desires will have limited success. Work diligently and do not expect an immediate reward. Dragon does not focus on fantasies of future possibilities, but acts in the now. Disciplined persistence is required. Do the work, but do not focus on how the outcome will manifest. Do the work and life will guide you. Six Dragons Medicine shares that what your heart deeply desires you can achieve, but you're advised to be wise in your creation. Any man can create heaven or hell on this earth. It is your choice as to which. The six dragons ask you to make sure your wishes are in alignment for what is best for you and all the creatures on earth. If you truly come from your heart and take dedicated action towards your goal, the six dragons will assist you and lead you to supreme success. Their medicine calls for you to come from your heart and take action now. The abundance and prosperity follows. So, that's basically exactly what I've been saying this whole time, just better summed up. So I could have just started by reading that. But pile 2, that is everything that I have for you. And if I want you to take anything from this, it's that this is a really great message to hear because it's not a complicated one. It's just about the importance of taking action. Like, that is the summary of it all. It's not, you need to focus on this, you need to worry about this. Take the stress out of everything and just focus on action. Tunnel vision on just creating what you want to create and put it out there. It's that simple. And eventually, you will be naturally flowing along that journey of reaching the goals that you want. Eventually, you're naturally going to fix all the mistakes. You're going to upgrade the gear. You're going to get to the level of quality that you're aspiring to. But it's something that's going to happen naturally along the journey. It's not something that you can skip forward to before you even start. You're going to have to go through a process of learning and changing and growing. But right now, the only thing that you need to be doing is starting. The only thing that you need to be doing is putting it out there. And I promise you, as long as you don't quit, you are going to succeed. Trust me on that. So, pile 2, that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Alright, pile 3. If you chose the Malachite, then this is going to be the reading for you. Now, I want to start off by saying that the reason why I think that you're stuck in this rut right now, why you're starting to lack this inspiration, is because I think those of you that are going to resonate with this reading are those of you that have been working at something very hard for a very long time. Now, if you feel like you're not that person yet where like you're having trouble starting it, I would encourage you to go back to the beginning and maybe choose a different pile, because this one might not resonate with you. But those of you that this does resonate with, I feel like the reason you're stuck in this rut is because you've been working at it so hard and so long, and I feel like, especially if you listen to a lot of tarot readings, you might have had a lot over time that have been saying, like, you're gonna reach this goal by this specific date, or it's just a few months away, and the few months has passed, and you keep going, and you haven't reached the goal yet. And something that I want you to hear is, first of all, about the tarot readings. We can only give the idea of what is the most likely outcome given your circumstances, but none of us know exactly what's going to happen, because the truth is humans have free will. Wrenches are gonna get thrown into things are gonna happen along the way that we cannot predict. We can only give the most likely outcome. And so all those readings that might have said, like, it's gonna happen at this day, or it's gonna happen this year, or it's gonna happen in the next few months, and then it hasn't happened, I know exactly how it feels to, like, have your hopes be brought up just to have them be dashed, and it's like, man, I thought it was gonna happen, and it can really bring you down. What I need you to hear is you are going to get that success. You are going to reach the abundance that you want. This thing is going to come to fruition. The goal you are trying to reach, you are going to get to. But I'm not putting a time frame on that, because for some of you, maybe it is very soon. For others, maybe it's a few years away. What I need you to hear right now is you're meant to keep going. You're meant to keep pursuing this thing, and you are eventually going to get to that goal, but this is not about the goal, because that is what is stopping you from being inspired and motivated. That is what's causing you to feel burnt out and lose steam right now, is you're focusing too much on the outcome and the goal, that it's starting to make you lose desire for what you're actually doing. I think what you were doing started very much off as like something you really loved to do. It was a creative hobby. It was a passion project. It was something that you really wanted to see succeed, but also you just really loved doing it. But over time, you've been so focused on the goal, this many people, I'm gonna get to this level, it's gonna make this amount of money, I need to reach the goal by this certain date. And the thing about that is we cannot control when things happen. No matter how badly we wish that we could say, like, it's gonna happen by this date. That sounds perfect, it sounds nice, but we're just humans. That's our ego trying to enforce its will upon things that, especially creative things, are not meant to be restricted. They will happen when they are meant to happen. It's gonna reach the people it's meant to reach when it's gonna reach them. You're going to reach that goal eventually, but it's something that you cannot control. And I think mentally, you've started focusing in on how badly you want it to succeed, how badly you want it right now, that you've started to mentally burn out, whether you realize it or not. It's been putting so much stress on you that you haven't really been in tune with the kind of creative flow that you're meant to be in. This whole thing, this passion project that you're meant to be doing, you're meant to be doing it from a place of passion, a place of love and creativity and love for doing what you're doing. But when it starts to become confused with resentment and anger and hurt and fear and stress, it's going to make you feel burnt out. It's going to make you not want to do it, and it's going to hold you back. It's going to slow you down. And that's why you're starting to lack inspiration and motivation to keep going. And it might be confusing to you because this is something that you love to do. It's something that you would do even if you didn't have to do it, like you just love to do it. But you're starting to feel this burnout. You're starting to feel all this stress and I feel like you're just tired. You're just getting really tired and you're worrying, like, am I ever going to reach that goal? And I want you to hear you are going to reach it. Like, that is something that I see very concretely. You wouldn't be getting this message to keep going if it wasn't meant to succeed. These readings do not just lead you down a dark tunnel just to never make it out the other side. You're not meant to just have a carrot dangled in front of you forever. You are going to reach this thing that you want. But you need to hear you're focusing on the wrong thing right now. And that's what's leading you to lack inspiration and motivation. You're focusing so hard on wanting to reach the goal that you're not focusing in the moment on how can I do something that is making me feel passion right now. Like I've been using a lot of different analogies today, but let's go with let's say you are a writer, okay? Let's say that you want to be published really badly, like that is your end goal. And it started off that you loved writing novels, you loved writing fan fiction, or you loved writing short stories just because it's something that you enjoyed doing. And then one day you got this idea that this could be a real career prospect for me. This is something that I could do as a career. So you started working at it, focusing on one day one of these novels is going to get published. And so you work, and it isn't happening on the time frame that you want it to. And so over time, instead of just focusing on how much you love writing in and of itself, just the idea of like going to the coffee shop, writing about your favorite characters or world building, instead of focusing on that and focusing on a story you love and completing that story that you love, you're focusing on when it's going to get published, when is it going to get picked up, when is an editor going to want to take me on, when am I going to start developing an audience, when are more people going to start reading what's out there, when are more people going to start buying my books. And because you're focusing more on this instead of your love of writing, it starts to poison the work itself. Because instead of writing from a place of passion and love, you can kind of see like the quality is deteriorating. People can tell that you're writing trying to pander to an audience instead of writing about something that you love. And the whole thing starts to fall apart, and you start questioning your ability as a writer, you start questioning if this is what you're meant to do, when in reality, you're not meant to be worrying about that kind of stuff. You are not meant to be worrying about when it's going to reach people. That is something that literally could not be up to you. Unless you had millions of dollars to send people these copies for free of your novel so that they're forced to read them, you can't control when it'll become popular, when it'll be published, when it'll be picked up by an editor, when it'll start to be bought off shelves. You can't control that. So stop trying to put your mental energy towards worrying about it. I understand that worry, but if you can't control it, having it on your mind is only going to poison everything around you, and you can start to see it's poisoning your passion, it's poisoning your work. The best thing that you can do for yourself right now is just learning how to become passionate about what you're doing again. Start reversing back to who you were when this all started and doing it just because you love it. Doing what makes you feel excited, because when you start doing that, it's going to shine through in your work, and other people are going to pick up that book or watch that video because they can see the passion shining through it. When you start to worry and that bleeds into your creative projects, people can see right through that creative project, and they can see, no matter how good it is, that, man, the author or the artist was in a really bad place when they made this, and it just doesn't make me feel good. People can sense that kind of stuff, and you want to be putting a good vibe into your work. And I know that that's very difficult, especially in the headspace that you're in right now, but the best thing that you can do for yourself is focus on the passion. Get back to doing it just because you love it. You can still do it as a career, but start coming at it from that point of view. Instead of starting every day off like, okay, how can I make sure that this reaches the most amount of people? How do I make sure that this panders to this certain audience? Because that's not going to get you anywhere. Now, up next here, we have, what do you need to hear to get yourself out of this rut? What do you need to hear to start feeling inspired again? And you have movement clarified by the Hermit reversed. I think it's always good to take some time to ourselves to really introspect about what we want, to meditate on where we want to go, who we are right now, how we're feeling. But it's also important to have a balance. And I think you've been tipping a little bit too much into a lack of movement, a lack of social life, lack of focusing on anything other than the work itself. And something that, it might seem counterintuitive, but taking time away from just focusing on this work itself, focusing on your hobbies outside of it, focus on your social life outside of it, focus on other things like literally going outside, are gonna actually make you complete what you're trying to do a lot faster. Because here's an example that I heard just the other day. I think it was actually about the analogy of like a writer. Let's say you really need to finish chapter 12, and you're like, I just need to sit here, I need to grind through it, I need to finish it. And your friend calls you up and is like, hey, do you want to go frolic in the park for an hour? And then you say no, and you're like, no, I can't, I really need to finish this chapter. And you're just in a bad headspace, you're not enjoying what you're doing, and you're trying to gruel through it, where in actuality, if you had gone out there, taken some time to recharge, gotten some sunshine, hung out with your friend, talked to them, frolicked in the park, you would have come back so much more recharged that you would have not only finished that chapter, but would have probably burned through 5 more because you're feeling so much more high vibe, so much better. And the thing about creativity is it's really dependent on our mindset and how healthy we're feeling. It's not just something that you can sit down and do whenever you want. It's something that you need to as badly as you wish that you could, you really do need to be feeling good mentally. You gotta take care of yourself, and I think that that's something that is missing. I think you need to start taking better care of yourself, not just physically, but also going outside, spending more time in nature, spending more time around friends and family, reconnecting socially, because you're not meant to just shut yourself in and only focus on this. Because if this is your entire life, humans are not meant to have singular indoor lives focused on one simple thing. It's not going to take you anywhere, and it's especially not going to bleed positive vibes into your work. If anything, it's going to make the work seem very dull, very colorless, very unhappy. It's going to be sloppy, and you know what I'm saying. You need to have a balance, and so if you don't feel like you have control over your work, over when you're going to reach that goal, at the very least, take control of the rest of your life. Take control of your social life. Go to the gym, get your heart rate up. Go outside, get some sunshine, walk around your town. Actually go out and have a conversation with somebody. Call up a friend, call up your family. Do what you can to make yourself feel invigorated in the rest of your life, and that will bleed over into your work. So it's all benefiting the same thing. But I think sometimes, especially as creatives, or if you're self-employed, you can really get down on yourself for not constantly focusing on work, because why are you taking time away from work to sleep? Or why are you taking time away to do stupid hobbies that have no meaning? Or like, why are you playing video games when you should be working? And the truth is, you need to have a balance or else your work is going to suffer. So it's not for no reason. These things actually do have a purpose and they are contributing. So let yourself have fun. Let yourself play those video games. Let yourself binge watch that TV show. It is giving back to your work. So if you have a hard time like detaching from work and being like, I don't have time to spare for anything else, this is actually it is actually technically in a way giving more towards your work. It's not useless time spent elsewhere. All right, now finally we have determination clarified by the Two of Wands, and I feel like this is saying a lot of different things. So first of all, I want to give you this analogy of like the mountain, and let's say that the goal you're trying to reach is at the top of the mountain, right? You're not gonna get to the top of the mountain by looking at everything that you need to climb. That's just gonna make you feel discouraged. It's gonna be like, oh my god, that is a big mountain. I'm not gonna be able to make it up fast enough. Instead, focus on the steps right in front of you. Focus on what you control right in front of you today. What can you do today to build up a little bit ways of getting towards the top of that mountain? So I want to start you off with, let's say you're a writer. What part of your outline needs polishing? What can you polish up right now? What part of the end of your story do you want to focus on today? Focus on those little things and put some work into that. And another thing that I want you to focus on is, let's go from like a social media perspective. Maybe some things that can help you reach this goal faster without having to try to like have a stranglehold of when you're going to reach it is focus on, okay, how can I reach the most amount of people? Maybe start doing some research on analytics. Obviously, you don't want that to be the entire focus of what you're doing, but focusing a little bit on learning that might help you reach more audiences faster, for instance. So in your specific field, maybe do some research on what you have control of right now that'll help you reach that goal a little bit faster. Instead of just staring at the mountain, staring at that goal and being like, oh my god, it's so far away. Focus on what little steps you can do right now that'll get you closer. So that is everything that I have for you from these cards. And finally, we're going to end you off with the card from your spirit guides, which is Abundance number 9. Now, without even reading this page yet, I want to tell you that the number 9, especially in your case, is a very good number because it's in numerology, it doesn't go up to 10. It goes to 9 and then resets back to 1. When you get to number 9, that is basically saying you are almost at the end of this long journey and you are about to get the closing out. You're about to get past that final moment where you have closed out this cycle, you've finished the journey, and you've attained what you wanted. I think that you are extremely close to reaching this goal. But like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to give you an exact date because I feel like that'd be misleading you. This is a general reading, and I feel like you've been misled a lot. I feel like you specifically are tired of hearing when it's going to happen if it's not going to happen exactly on that day. What I will tell you is you are getting close to the end of your journey. There's a very positive message, especially with abundance, if this is something that you've been trying to reach financial abundance in, or just abundance in like followers or an audience or whatever it is. But let's go ahead and read you this. So, number 9, abundance, the bowhead whale. To survive, bowhead whale must be in flow with the currents of the ocean, where its main source of food lives. When a team is migrating through the Arctic waters, the lead bowhead will often break through the ice to create a hole that the following whales will use to breathe. Bowhead whale comes to you to ask you to be in harmony with the flow. The flow is the path of least resistance. It is allowing that which is bigger than yourself to guide you. This card reveals something greater is clearing the way for a time of relief. You are in alignment with the flow where abundance flows. This abundance is revealed to you as your true self. You are being asked to release your negative thinking and worry. Rest assured that whatever is currently bringing discord or angst will soon dissipate. Let go. Holding on to worry is resisting the state of flow. When we trust life and surrender, we work in flow. When we work in flow, we channel, which means to allow the universe to self-express through us. In these magical moments of inspiration, what this video is about, We allow the universe to actualize using us as the vehicle. This is bliss, as we transcend the superego and are one with the ultimate oneness. This is where we realize our true self. There's ultimate abundance. This is ultimate abundance. Bowhead Whale's medicine suggests prayer as a gateway to channeling. Ask the universe what you can do for it and not what it can do for you. I think that's a big thing that you could focus on, especially with attaining the goal, trying to force the universe to give you what you want. Instead, ask the universe what you can be doing, what action you can be doing in order to reach this goal. Instead of asking the universe to give it to you, start asking, what can you be doing in order to reach this goal? What can you be doing to be in flow and be in alignment with this goal that you're trying to reach? What comes next is better than what you could wish for. So, pile 3, that is everything that I have for you. I think that is the best possible way that we could have finished out your reading. I can really sense the frustration and the tiredness that you're currently feeling with your situation, and I really do empathize, but I want you to know that you're still going in the right direction. And it's okay if you need moments to take a break. It's okay to give yourself those moments to take a break, because you are eventually going to reach that goal that you want. But it's all a part of this process. You need to be in the flow. You need to stop resisting or letting your ego take control and start, trying to yell at the universe for what you want. You need to be in the flow of things, and you are eventually going to get there. So, pile 3, that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.